Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston. I'm here with Sam. Say hello.
Odin wouldn't be Odin if he was not hard boiled. Let's go. We're back.
Yeah, we're back, and we are jumping right into a set two meta tier list. We're
Yes.
super excited to talk about what we expect out of set two, and I think the most convenient way to do is to rank all of our leaders against each other and just talk about how we feel like this meta is going to shape out. Um,
Yeah, this is coming right off of the preliminary winnings in Japan. So this is like the last big tournament that has happened. So we're gonna go off of what we think the expectations are, kind of like where the hype is focused, and just our general opinions on what we think the meta is gonna look like. So
Yeah, and a great place to start is probably the most interesting set two leader of Whitebeard.
yes.
This character came out with a much more different look to him, with more life and power,
Yep.
um, with a crazy effect included, and some good cards that really change how the meta is going to look. Unfortunately, I think when it comes to red, there's a lot more leader potential out of other characters. So I generally think of Whitebeard as a B tier leader, where you're most likely going to play it, but everything above it is going to probably beat it based off of strength and speed.
Yeah, I think the innovation of Whitebeard is definitely going to be interesting. I think Whitebeard has low A tier potential, but I think the meta right now hurts Whitebeard. I think it doesn't benefit him. I think the Whitebeard decks that are going to be strong are going to be the ones that don't necessarily focus on the Whitebeard traits. Just a couple Whitebeard cards with the rest of set one red, which has been very good. But I do agree that the meta does not help Whitebeard very much. So I do think he's going to land in B tier, which is unfortunate. But I do think the leader has potential, and he definitely can rise. Um, but if we jump right into the flip point of it, I think it's funny talking about Zoro because when we talk about Zoro, we had the highest hopes, and he kind of was strong, and he was kind of not strong. He really saw a lot of inflections. But what we saw out of that last tournament, what we saw, the new innovations of this deck, it just really proves what we said in our very first tier list video, where Zoro has crazy potential because of his ability not to be locked down to an archetype, and he will just flourish any other archetype that comes into him. Like the weenie one we saw, incredibly strong. I don't think Rush Zoro is going to die, so that's still a potential archetype. I think Zoro will just continue to be a strong A tier leader. It's hard for me to see him any lower than these two, and I'm excited to see what else Zoro can do in such a young meta.
Yeah, like we've always said, this leader has potential, so it's hard not to place it high. Red has been getting a really good boost, and it also has probably more cards than everything because of the red promos.
Yeah,
So it just is going to continue to be good based off of its plus 1,000 to all characters on board. That's wild.
it's wild.
But on another side of the coin for red, the mono red Luffy has potential, but I think we have to consider that any other combination of red is going to be better. If you do red green law, it's better. If you play Whitebeard, it's probably better. And obviously Zoro's better. So I put this in C because all of the pretty much every other red combination is going to be better than this card.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think a C tier to me doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad. Like I think we'll still see these leaders. I don't think that they're necessarily going to fall off a cliff. Luffy was a very prominent leader set one, but I do think that the other leaders just offer more. I think Luffy just might be a tad too slow now. I think he
Yeah.
offers more, but I think it's still a strong leader. I think for a good pilot or a good off meta deck has potential. But I just do think the other two leaders are going to be better. Um, Not better than Uda. Uda has zero results. I'm just gonna throw her in D tier. Uda's just underused. There's just better. If you have the leader,
Yeah.
that's cool. Art's cool. There's better leaders.
Yeah, there no one's playing this leader, and if it's because it's not available or because it's just doesn't have a good deck that it can play,
Yeah.
in any case, you're just not going to see this leader. And if you do see it, you're probably going to be surprised when they might beat you because you just don't know what you're going to get out of it. So beware.
I had to read the effect again. It's like I don't remember exactly what it did. I had to read it again.
Yeah, you have to be aware of it because if you're
Yep.
seeing it in a tournament, that player is either
Yep.
new or confident.
Or
So you have,
a
yeah,
master. So you
super
lost.
confident. Yeah, super confident because they're playing a very underused leader
Yeah.
or just new and playing cards that they like. So in either case, you can be caught off guard. But no one's been caught off guard yet because I don't see this deck list posted anywhere.
Nope. I don't think I've seen an Uda deck list. That's the
Mhm.
opposite of a different color. Red green has been exciting. I think red
Yeah,
green has been exciting, and it's always been exciting. I think Law has been the carrier of that. I think
yeah,
Law is going to be our first A tier to kind of gauge like what we're doing. A tier to us is good. These leaders are good. They're going to be strong. They're going to be in the meta. You're going to see them. I think the hype is slowly going down on Law. I think the Zoro Weenie deck has hurt that potential a little bit. I don't know exactly. But this leader is still incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. It's only have gotten better since more cards are going to be released. It's going to continue to get better as more cards got released. The film stuff was incredibly good. Then they got a Bart promo, which is very good. It's hard to imagine Law not continuing to trend up. So maybe it'll touch S tier when we have more results. But for now, I think A tier, hype, strength. It's just going to be a good deck.
yeah. It's always going to sit around that area because it's not limited, right, to a specific archetype. It's just
Yeah.
switch a red for a green or switch a green for a red. So as long as you have two good archetypes in red and green,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to play this leader. Its only downside is that it's 4 life, but that's also its advantage. Right now, we're only seeing dual color leaders with 4 lives, and this is probably the best dual color leader that we have right now.
Nope, I would agree.
Let's see. So we just talked about something good. We can talk about King, which is bad.
Oh yeah, King is
We can just drop
horrendously
King.
bad. Just dropped
Just
him down
drop
a D
King.
tier.
Yeah, not much to say. He doesn't get results. We're not seeing him played. I think he has potential, but not with the cards that are available now.
Yeah, something drastically would have to come out to increase King's ability. It's just when you have someone like Kaido, who I'd probably put in B tier, it's just unsuitable. Like you are gonna play something that loses a Dawn, and now you don't have your effect anymore. So your ordering for is weird. Or someone like Kaido, if you're gonna play a lot of the same cards, they have the same trait, but you have the ability to just nuke someone's life. I would argue that Kaido's probably trending down. I would probably last format or end of last format put him at just high A tier, honestly. But I think with the new purple cards, he is slightly trending down. He did top. He did just take fourth with a very interesting, very exciting deck that for Meta Monday, which we're gonna link right here.
Yeah.
Exciting. I think the Magellan card is very strong. I like the new Hell's Judgment card, very strong. But other colors got a lot of good cards. Like it wasn't just one or two. Like blue got a whole white makeover. Green has Sanji and Kinema, which are so exciting, and red seeing a resurgence when purple got two good cards. So it just seems likely that purple's probably trending down.
Yeah, and the control that you get out of just even the Zoro deck, which is an aggressive control, is gonna just slowly beat Kaido down because they're gonna lose their blockers, they're gonna lose their advantage because you're able to kill stuff that they usually would keep on board to punish you. So
Yeah.
it is definitely, in my opinion, trending down. Something that I think is trending up is Doflamingo.
Ooh.
I think this leader is gonna make so many waves. As soon as they get the list tied down, the new Impel Down stuff is really exciting for this deck, and it's probably one of the best blue decks I think that we have right now. Is an Ivankov Luffy Impel Down with your Warlords. I think that's a very exciting deck, and the Warlords got a boost with the new Gecko Moria. I think this deck is going to be showing up more and more in tops and has a good chance of contending with our other A tiers and putting pressure on our S tiers.
that's a great. I'm gonna put Avant here too. I think Avant and I'm gonna put Avant in B tier because we can talk about it at the same time.
Yep.
That the new Impel Down stuff is just so exciting, so powerful, and it's gonna explode. Like we've seen a ton of these lists in locals already, and I think the Dofi list is much harder because there's so many cards that you can play. Um, the Avant list is very simple, very compact. So when you see an Avant leader, you know what they're doing. So I think it's a little gimmicky. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. But Doflamingo offers you a large variety of options. You know, the Kekamoria is a great ad, and it's easy to slide in that Impel Down stuff. It has only pluses involved into it, so it's a very good, just straight up mechanic. So I think Doflamingo, once that list gets locked down, easily can contest for the S tier. It's just locking it down and performing. What has not been performing at all is that I'm gonna get rid of the last film leader, Shanks leader. I'm gonna add Magellan here too. We're gonna add them both. They
Yeah.
are
Cards.
they're rough. You know, Magellan has a really poor infrastructure. I think the Impel Down stuff, not Impel Down stuff. Yeah, the Impel Down stuff is just rough. There's a couple good
Mhm.
cards like we've mentioned, but there's just not enough for the mechanic to be good to justify Magellan. Same thing for Shanks. I'm gonna put him on your radar just because there's been a ton of film stuff being released. If there's any more film stuff released, Shanks could be on that radar, but there's only 20-ish cards. That's not enough to make a viable leader when you have someone like Kaido who could play the entire purple catalog. So
Yeah.
harder to
Yeah,
play.
it's the same for Magellan. You could play the same deck that they play, mostly card for card Magellan for Kaido, and the Kaido leader just feels stronger and gives you a few more cards that you could play.
Yep.
So I absolutely put it low. I'm gonna keep thinking it's bad until someone wins the championship with it.
Please
And
win with it. I would love that.
when they do, then I'll be so excited to cover it
I'm gonna
because
be so excited to cover that. I want to be wrong. You have no idea.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, another deck that just made set one feel miserable to cover is Kid. Um, this leader, I think, is going to stay strong, uh, which is crazy. It's just a good leader card. Uh, like we said with Zoro and with Law, they are universal leaders, so you just throw a good archetype behind them, and they don't have to interact with each other. They're just good. So this is always going to be, I think, a tier leader, unless a tier or unless another green leader is significantly better than it. Um, and it's just going to be good, and it's going to have to be covered because it's a good card.
Yeah. When we look at our meta stuff before we film any meta Mondays, we have like a little spreadsheet things, you know, leaders that we've seen a lot of. We have seen so much Kid, a ridiculous amount of Kid, and we just don't cover it because it would be a Kid channel,
Yeah.
and I don't want to see it. So but it's weird. I think Kid's not trending up or down. I think he's neutral right now, where he's just good. I think it's hard to improve that list too. But we have seen some innovation already. We've seen some Wano versions of that, and
Mhm.
that's incredibly exciting. The fact that Kid can continue to reinvent himself, and it's because his leader is incredibly universal. It's not tied down to an archetype. He has 5 life. He is just a very strong, you know, green leader, and green cards have been good. So it's very hard to argue Kid going up or down. So I think A tier is just Kid Central. Maybe we have to tear an A tier into Kid tier. Um, but going into it, I think, you know, when we talk about green leaders, we have some good ones, we have some bad ones. Odin's a bad one. You know, it's probably our biggest miss from our first tier list video. We got so excited because all the red scabbards were really good. They were really exciting, but Odin's effect is a negative. It's a minus, and we were hoping the cards would offset it, but Nico Robin just ruined this deck. So it's a D tier. And because the effect is a negative, I think is what hurts this leader the most. Do I want this leader to win? Of course I do. Odin's sick. He's hard boiled. But unfortunately, I think his leader effect just leaves you wanting. He's probably the best of the D tier. I'll give him that because his archetype is very good. But there's just so many. There's just a better option out there.
Yeah, and his archetype is winning right now. If you want to go from our lowest tier to our highest tier, the same, mostly same combination of cards generally that you would play in Odin, you're going to play in Kinemon, and you're going to do it better with Kinemon. You have more play potential to get stuff on board. You have no minuses with your leader effect. You just activate. Um, so you're going to get a major boost playing Kinemon over Odin. And Kinemon is topping a lot. It's probably my second most winning deck that I've seen right now. So we're going to put it up in S right next to Zoro.
Right next to Zoro. You cover a lot of its pluses. You know, the cards are still very good, and you know you have a lot of draw options. You have Momo, you have Raizo, which makes Kinemon makes this very easy to get on board. And Zoro has the potential to take out one character probably a turn, but Kinemon has the ability to put 3 or 4 on the board really quickly. So it's very hard to deal with some of these characters, and they're strong. It's not like they're little weenies like Zoro's putting out. These are characters that are usually on play, can attack. Kinemon has the ability to be very defensive as well. With you add the new Yamato in there as well. So much tapping potential with Aizo and Big Cat or Cat Viper. So a lot of good options coming out of Kinemon. I'm excited that Kinemon is seeing the success that we had hoped Odin would have. So it's just nice that it's finally happening for that deck, and it's an exciting deck too. So a lot of fun to play.
Yeah.
And just to round out green, I think Sanji is one of the really, again, young, new leaders that we have seen a lot of. And it fits this idea that, you know, a lot of different decks, a lot of different options, because it doesn't have tied down to an archetype, even though it is an archetype, because it's no abilities. And we're going to continue to see this Mihawk deck that's been running around that we covered. And it's strong. Dropping that guy that early is very bad for most decks, and that deck alone I think lands in an A tier. I
Yeah.
think green decks are going to continue to be very powerful in this meta until Control can really find a grasp on a list. I'm going to keep riding with aggro, so I'm going to land that in A tier.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it can go with anything, so you can get any combination of green and blue that you want, and as long as you're playing well, you most likely are going to do good. And if not, the leader itself can be played with anything. So you can play around with off archetyped stuff that you might not normally play in these higher tiered decks and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you always can jump back to what is good. So the blue green Sanji is going to probably transcend several sets as long as green continues to be good. And then if blue rises in value, you still end up with a good Sanji deck. So it's absolutely great. Um, on the other side of blue, just leaders that aren't as good as this, with your blue purple Kaido, your blue Croc, uh, dropping those in C tier, I think is fair. They're good leaders that have better decks that play the same cards or play better versions of this color. Crocodile, I think, is going to be better in the US for set one than it showed in Japan. But when you think of blue decks, Avank is going to be better, Dofi's going to be better. It's just not as good, I think, as these other leader effects. The blue purple Kaido, I expected to do really well, but at 4 life, getting a ramp off of his attack every turn isn't as important as what you can do with 5 life and normal Kaido. So it's a deck I wanted to see succeed, and it might do well in the West, but that 4 life is just gonna hurt it generally most of the time, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think this is. I think blue purple was in my eyes was something that the West was gonna favor more. I think it fits the style that the West favors. But over the East, it did not succeed. I don't think we saw very many, if we saw any at all. It's probably can count them on one hand how many I saw. And the Croc is interesting because I think Dofi is, at least now, especially now in a very meta focus, not meta, very
Aggro?
aggro and very controlly, not controlly, but tempo. Tempo's what I'm looking for. very tempo styled format right now. I think Crocodile is very hard to contest. Losing 5 Dawn or losing 4 Dawn to bounce something back when there's other cards that just remove are just better options. Dofi has the ability to swarm when Croc doesn't, and Avant has the ability to really take advantage of the really powerful impel down cards. So I think Croc is playable, but I think the other blue leaders are just slightly better. And you can say the same for Kaido. But the blue purple counterpart, I think, has potential to do slightly better. I think Crocodile being able to draw a card gives him more options. I think the event cards coming out of blue are also really help this. I think Gum Gum No Rain costing 0 is going to be very powerful for this leader. And I think this deck is just 1 or 2 cards away from being very good. So I think that card could actually really just help the deck win more. I think it's probably B tier. It's probably up there with Whitebeard and Kaido. Trending up slightly. So
Yeah, I agree.
excited to see more blue purple crocodile. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think rounding off our red and green, the red green Luffy, I think just gets outclassed by Law. So it fits in that same area that we were just in the C tier. Um, it's a good leader that has very good cards surrounding it that is outclassed by all of the cards above it. The red green Law is more flexible
Mm-hmm.
and it's more aggressive, and you can have a lot more flashy moves with it, even with the same life. Um, so we just think that it's a good spot down towards the bottom. I think that someone could do something insane with it and still do well, but generally, most people are going to stay away from it and play mono red instead.
Yeah, dual colors, especially in this very send 5 attackers meta, is very hard to play. I think that's the same thing with Whitebeard. You want to try to have as much life as possible, but there's so many attacks coming your way. And I think that red green lists are very similar. It's very hard to see the identical differences. That film stuff is probably going to make this leader good. The decks might be better than some of the B tier leaders. However, I think Law just pilots that deck so much better. So we're going to put him in the C tier because I don't think we're going to see much of him. But he can do well. And we unintentionally left all the Navy, which is exciting. I'm going to start with probably the worst Navy. I think Garp has the least potential out of all the Navy leaders. I think I'm going to put him in D tier because we haven't seen, if any at all, Garp. I think the issue with Garp is that the red and black destruction doesn't sync up. Red wants to minus power to KO, where black wants to minus entrance cost to KO. So the synergy is just not there. I think there is potential, obviously, with more cards to come out. That could always help. I also don't think the leader effect of Garp is very good. It's very, very specific. 7 costs or lower -1, when Smoker could just -1,000 and then pluses off of it. So it's just hard to see where the Garp strength, individuality is for him right now. More cards could come out that could change that, but for now, I don't imagine seeing very much Garp, if any.
Yeah, I think we can keep moving up the tier list too and move on to Sakazuki. I think Sakazuki is a C tier. I think the other 2 black leaders that we're going to talk about next are going to outclass him. Uh, his effect is too much of a minus. It's too big of a cost to get the same effect that you get with other leaders, or even just any other color as a lower cost. Tapping, I think it's tap 3, discard 1,
Yeah.
KO a 0 cost.
Yeah.
That's a pretty expensive effect just for KOing when you have character cards that just you can play in purple or black purple to KO a 3 or less. Like
Yeah.
just playing the set one who's who over this leader entirely is probably more advantageous. So I think all the other black leaders are better than this, and we can discuss which leader goes into B tier.
Yeah, I think all correct points. I think the leader will also play an identical deck to Smoker, who's going to be higher on this list. They play very similar styles, very similar cards, except Smoker doesn't minus himself. And you don't need that kind of hole this kind of meta. So I can't imagine him being very successful. But the black cards are good, so I will imagine we'll see a couple here and there. he's also cool. So there's that. Z. Z is one that we have no information on. I don't think we've seen a Z deck done well yet. If we go off potential alone, though, I think Z has incredible potential. I think the list is very hard to do. I think the list is very top heavy. Every time I do the list, it's very top heavy. And I think once we have locked down the early game, this list will be very strong. This leader will be very strong. Its effect is good. The colors combined have great synergy. Both of them work on entrance cost. You minus with navy and then you kill with purple. Incredible potential. I'm very excited to play Z myself. I'm going to put him in B tier. I could easily see him being S tier once this list is worked out and flushed out. But for now, until we see that, for hype purposes alone, I think he's going to end up in B tier.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be crazy to think of another four life leader getting up into the upper half of our list too. Um, and I think that just shows the attractiveness of dual color. Even though you have less life, you're attracted to the concept of building a higher potential deck with these characters.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the leader that does, and as we can see, have the most potential for black is Smoker. I think people are gravitating towards Smoker. Um, Very interesting effect to round out black's leaders, and I think it sits solidly in A. I think it contends with all of these decks and is better than most of the ones below it. And the best list that you can build with this should be most of these leaders. It's going to contend with Zoro. It just might not be fast enough to contend with Zoro. And that's the hard part about playing against an aggressive control deck like the current Zoro build.
Yeah, I think Smoker also has the ability power or leader effect that can test best with the best decks as well. It's very easy to minus one of Zoro's weenies to get his effect off. So I think in this current meta, especially Smoker transcends as well. I think the lists are going to keep being different as well because it is a brand new color. But I think out of all of the leaders so far, Smoker has showed the best promise. So keep an eye out for Smoker. I think Navy definitely has the best potential to change the meta. So keep an eye out, Smoker. The last leader, one of the cooler leaders that we had just seen, we have Big Mom. Big Mom obviously has no cards, but I think for excitedness, she's up there. Oh no, I screwed this up, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Make a new one just for her.
Yeah, she's
Uh, she's excited. We wanted to include her because she's been revealed. Um, this leader is exciting to us. When we saw that effect come out, we talked on our message thread for an extended period of time of what the potential of this leader could be in the deck. We have no more information since then, so we have no idea where she'll rank up. But if we look at our trend of where starter deck leaders end up, we have one in A, we have one in B, and two in C. So I'm expecting her to be A or B tier with whatever combination that comes out of set three, pushing yellow into higher tiers. So this leader might not be our A tier leader, but we might get a cool mono yellow Katakuri that, fingers crossed, S tier. We'll see.
Oh, I would love that. She might not be on the tier list, but she's S tier in my heart. Yeah, that's Big Mom. Pretty excited to see what cards come out of her. She gets her own tier. But that is our tier list.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty excited. I'm definitely want to see more Z decks. That's the one right there. Want to see more. But that's the tier list, guys. Thank you for sticking around. Let us know in the comments. What do you agree with? What did we miss on? I love hearing you guys' opinions. I want to know what you guys think on this.
Absolutely. Let us know where we missed. I love to hear your opinion on why you think one of these low tiered leaders are better than what we expected.
Oh, I want to
Um,
know.
I don't mind being wrong. I actually enjoy the aspect of you guys telling me that you're playing GARP in your locals.
I want to
And
see your GARP list if you're playing GARP at your locals.
yeah, post it in the comments. We'll check it out. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a long one. Thank you for hanging in there. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like. If you want to get more One Piece TCG content, hit that subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.